Welcome to We Chat Divorce, hosted by Karen Chellew, Legal Liaison, and Catherine Shanahan, CDFA. Each episode, we sit down with divorce professionals and industry experts to provide insights and frank discussions about real people, real situations, and real divorce to help you achieve your best life post-divorce. This episode of We Chat Divorce is brought to you by My Divorce Solution, offering divorce financial planning so clients can secure the divorce settlement they deserve. Visit mydivorcesolution.com to request access.
Welcome to We Chat Divorce, brought to you by My Divorce Solution. Today, Catherine and I are excited to bring you an episode titled Real People, Real Situations, and Real Divorce, a client's journey through the MDS process. We'll be welcoming Nicole Farhat to the podcast. Nicole is not only a certified divorce coach, but also a former MDS client who experienced firsthand the power of financial clarity during divorce. After going through the MDS financial portrait process, she achieved a successful financial outcome and gained the confidence to move forward with her next chapter. Today, she's here with us to share her journey, her insights, and why she believes financial preparation is key for anyone considering or going through the divorce process.
Before we welcome her in, Karen, I can remember her and her husband. She was one of the clients who said, my husband will never participate. Let me tell you how to communicate with him, because she's a coach. And, he did communicate with us. He did participate. And I believe they came to a really good agreement. And I believe she used her attorney just as a reviewing attorney, and her attorney loved working with us. So it was one of those cases. But how many times do people say, oh, my spouse is not going to participate?
Right. That happens a lot, and people can't believe it. But, actually their spouses are smart enough to know, they want to know what right? So he probably wanted to know what Nicole was doing in the first place. So he was going to hop in.
Where they want to tell us what we don't know, even though we know.
Right. That's so true. Mm-hmm. And, the second element of that with Nicole and many, many others is their spouses are charming, right? To the outside world. That's a very common dynamic. And so then when we respond, not favorably, but nicely and engaging, they believe that we've misread them, right? So they think that we're creating emotional relationship with their spouse, which we're not. That's not our job. Our job is to help gain financial clarity for both spouses and get them to the table to a financial settlement to eventually benefit the family. But it is a very interesting dynamic that sometimes a client can feel threatened when their spouse engage because they think that we're not going to hear them any longer. They still feel the power of that spouse and their prior relationship, over and into the divorce process.
And the truth of the matter is, what does it matter if we're nice to them or not nice to them? I always feel like attorneys are mean to their own clients, and why that doesn't get you anything. We're all raised to kill them with kindness. You're going to attract more bees to honey than you are not, right? But the space that we allow for the participant, the spouse, is really the space that should be allowed to a participant or a spouse. And I'm going both ways. So although they do get that feeling of, oh my gosh, you're going to be snowballed by my spouse, and these are usually the ones that believe their spouses are narcissists, and they then quickly realize that the information that we're gathering has nothing to do with our liking of that spouse. We don't have a reason not to like the spouse, right? We haven't lived with them. We don't know the real story, but we do have a reason to want to get this data because it helps the family moving forward, and particularly our client, because it helps them get information that they don't have to go and pay to get through a different way. So I bet you she shares that because she was one of those ones that was like, oh, you're going to think he's charming, or she'll probably say that. Or, she got a little offended that I got along so well with him. But in the end, she was very happy that we got along so well with him because we got more information than she would have ever gotten. And quite frankly, we were able to be frank with him. So he saw the reality of what was happening because we had that relationship of sharing information. It had nothing to do with liking him over her or her over him, for that matter. It's liking the family to have a better process, to go through this process a better way. And that's what the MDS method is.
Absolutely. And I'm going to say that she probably benefited from empowerment by being able to replicate the patterning of that beyond divorce, right? She could see just the pragmatic conversation, the engagement of communication and discussion in a different way than what I call their marriage contract was, their emotional marriage contract. So by watching us engage with him in a different way, then she could pattern after that as well. It would be interesting to know if she agrees with that or not. Who knows? But I do think we watched her emerge a very confident and thriving person.
Yeah, which is really inspiration for us at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Okay, let's invite her in now.
And we're thrilled to welcome Nicole Farhat to the podcast today. Welcome, Nicole.
Hi, guys. Good to see you again.
So good to see you too.
It's so good to see you. In this episode, we're going to discuss real people, real situations, and real divorce, a client's journey through the NDS process. But first, I'm going to take just a couple minutes and introduce Nicole. Nicole is a dedicated divorce coach who has helped countless individuals navigate the emotional and practical challenges of divorce. But beyond her professional expertise, Nicole has been through the My Divorce Solution process herself, gaining clarity, confidence, and a successful outcome along the way. She's become our go-to person for offering guidance and support to those who may feel apprehensive about taking the first step, providing invaluable insight from both a professional and personal perspective. Again, welcome.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
Oh, so glad that we get to have this conversation because you have been a very valuable resource to our clients, our potential clients, and we really appreciate your offer in that space.
My pleasure to recommend you guys. You were invaluable to me. You really helped the whole process feel much smoother and achievable and less overwhelming.
I remember when you came aboard and you were like, Catherine, my husband's never going to participate in this process.
Never. Correct.
Yeah. And as a coach, our coach clients love to tell us how we should do it because you're very successful in what you do, right? So for us, but we always say, but we have a method, like we know how to do this communication. And it was really hard for you to let go a little bit and let us do that communication. So talk a little bit about that and how you felt and how surprised you were that he actually participated.
It became this magic that you had where you became part of the village that I assembled, and now I help women assemble, where he was uncooperative because he was certain that he was right about everything. And that was just his personality. However, what I realize in retrospect is spouses don't necessarily care how they look to their wives, especially when their wives are choosing to divorce. But they do care how they look to the outside world, to professionals who are involved. And I think you at one time said he was actually very charming because he wanted to appear cooperative and collaborative and sure, let me just meet your timeline and make sure that you guys have everything you need so that he could maintain appearances. And while I wouldn't say he's super high conflict, it was difficult at first to get him on board. The emails back and forth were, you chose this without me, how could you? But the emails that included you guys were like, it's so nice to meet you. I really look forward to working with you. So again, managing perception, I realized I needed to step back and let you guys do what you do because I wasn't getting anywhere and you got everything. So it's fantastic. Yeah.
Well, it's just nice to, hear from your perspective. We have a lot of people that call us and they say exactly that. My spouse will never participate. There's no way. And for us, it's like, let them be charming. Let them give us the information needed. You have to give that information anyway. But even if he stopped participating at some point, you had so much knowledge that was given to us that you could take
Right.
on that you didn't need to do subpoenas for. You didn't need to do.
Absolutely.
So
You
it's
saved us so much money. So
and
much money.
and that's what, that's why we're so thankful that you talk to clients or prospective clients, because they want to hear it from you. They want to hear it from the person that actually went through our process. So
Yeah.
giving this insight, and also where it leads you to with your own career now, which is really phenomenal. I'm so proud of you about that.
Thank you. It's interesting to note that my attorney recommended that I be a divorce coach. She said, "Have you ever heard of that? I have a background in psychobiology and medicine, and I'm the girl that, people tell their whole life story to, right?" And in the divorce process, she said, "I've never had a client that was so unemotional for emotional things, right? I experienced emotion, but I didn't factor it into my decision making. And I was able to kind of be level headed and strategic about the approach, right? If I'm going to have six of one and half dozen of the other, but I know he wants that, why am I going to fight for that? I'll take this. It's the same,
But
right?
did
So instead of,
you gain that getting the knowledge through our process though, because you were emotional when you started?
oh,
So
absolutely. And I think the whole process of making that choice is very emotional because it's not necessarily a choice to leave your marriage, because when women decide to leave, it's been a long time coming of letdowns and disappointments and not feeling mutual reciprocation for input into the marriage. But it's a decision of, I now need to value myself and my worth and my future, and reflecting on the fact that I lived in such a way that I really didn't. I didn't allow myself to be valuable, and I allow myself to be demeaned or talked down to, even if it's a nice human being. There are still spouses that will say, "Oh, you don't need to deal with this. I'll handle the money. You wouldn't understand." Now, before I had children, I had a six-figure income. I was very knowledgeable and very, capable. But you assume this traditional gender role of, I'm going to be the stay-at-home mom with kids, and that's not the case for everybody who seeks your services, but it is a very emotional one because you're like, I don't know if I can live without this financial input. And so coming to you and having you guys work on the budget with me and showing me a bottom line number that the documentation supported, I could take a breath and I could go, whatever he wants to talk about, it's okay, because bottom line, I'm going to be okay. My kids are going to be okay. And that helped calm everything down. And then, working with clients, talking to them through the same emotions I had was, well, I don't know that I can spend the money to hire them. And I say, I don't know that you can afford not to, because what they do over a long period of time with their portal and the documentation, the emails back and forth, just count how many emails we interacted. That would be $400 to $600 a pop for an attorney. And those emails are not bullet pointed and concise from the spouses, they're emotional. So we factor out the emotion as coaches and as your financial advice. And we get down to basics of, here's what we're talking about, and from there we can make better decisions. So when you guys email me about clients that are interested in working with you, they always say, I'm scared, I don't think that my spouse is going to be okay with it, I don't know if I can afford it. And so when I talk to them, I say, number one, first thing, it doesn't matter if your spouse is okay with it, because your spouse is probably not okay getting divorced, because you have crafted a life that is so comfortable for them. They don't want you to go. You have decided that this is best for you and your children if you have them. So this is the first step in making choices for yourself instead of for them. And it's going to feel uncomfortable because it's different, not because it's bad. It's just a habit that you're breaking. And then when I tell them the experience I had with you guys and how you were able to get things that he would, first of all, denied he had, and then was like, oh, I do have it. You must have misworded it, Nicole. But the way Catherine and Karen explain it, right? So it's fascinating how it works. But you guys have this little genie wand, and it works. So
Well, it's fun to listen to you now, of course, right? So
yeah.
we went through the process, and if you're listening to Nicole, she's talking from the viewpoint of She just wanted to be happy, and that's why they got a divorce. And her husband did not want the divorce. And there's a lot of you out there listening who don't have that choice,
Mm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
If you do have that choice, it's also a really hard choice because you
Mm-hmm.
don't just wake up today, like you said, it's been years in the making of whatever your needs are not being fulfilled. It's still very emotional. And with our process, and you talked about saving money, tons of money with your attorneys and so forth. You had a reviewing attorney, which was good, but you only needed to go for legal advice about something, right?
Right.
But what I admire is the vulnerability that you share when we're on those calls, because both of
Mm-hmm.
you became very emotional, right? What
Oh,
I
yes.
talk, what I talk to clients a lot about is there's an emotional value to every asset and every debt because it trickles into
Mm.
your lives or your children's
Yes.
lives. But what happens in the old system or the archaic system that's out there for family law is typically you would go to your attorney, show your emotions, and they try to share those emotions with the other attorney, who then brings it
Mm.
back to your spouse, and it never comes out the way you intended it. And
Absolutely
vice
correct.
versa. But
Right.
because our space allows for the two of you to be on that Zoom call, and
Mm-hmm.
you felt safe enough that you can share your vulnerability about an
Mm-hmm.
asset decision that you were making. It wasn't based
Mm-hmm.
on emotions, but there were emotions attached to it. And when he got
Yeah.
to see that, he understood it because it was coming from your mouth. And same
Mm-hmm.
with him. When he showed his anger or his emotions, and he was emotional at times, right? You
Mm-hmm.
got to sit there because you were prepared, but at least
Right.
he felt safe to do that. And that's why parties can come to a compromise on things, because you both do
Mm-hmm.
have compromise, right? So
Yeah.
I so kudos to you for to sharing that and being a part
Mm-hmm.
of that to get to a good decision.
Well, so circling back, so one, I felt very supported that I had two very strong women at my back with armed with information and ready to be like, hold on. And I remember there was an interaction where you were like, hold on, sir. That's not true. And yes, I'm a neutral, objective third party, but facts are facts, and that's not a fact. And Nicole, you need to know that that's not a true statement. So, number one, he was kind of checked like, okay, there's a boundary. We're dealing in facts here, right? But holding space for the emotions and talking about the choice to get divorced. This is what I start with my clients when you say like I got divorced because I wanted to be happy. I tell women you have every right to create a life where you're happy. And if your spouse is not committed to collaborating with that, if they're happy with the status quo, they're not around, they're fill in the blank with whatever their situation is. If they're not, great parents to the children, like divorce can be the opportunity to make a huge impact and make both people and the children happy. It often is the next option for a father who may not be involved to go, oh, I need to wake up. I have a handful of years left with these children. I need to put time in. And the wife generally orchestrates everything. And now, when we're not, they have to see how that is. And they also come later to value what we've done in order to run life. But kind of a quote that I live by, which I think works with divorce coaching and with you guys. It's by Glennon Doyle from Untamed. It says, are you living the truest, most beautiful version of your life? And if you're not, do you have the courage to change it? She says to burn it down and build something better. I don't want to be that destructive, right? Let's minimize the damage, but truly to envision even a year from now, it could be totally different. And you're going to be happy that you did it. And your spouse is probably going to be happy. There's going to be some growth moments where they go, they have that epiphany. I could have done it differently, and I still have time to do it differently in the future.
Mhm.
So it's a really important pivotal moment, making that choice and then assembling your village of women, men too, but for me, assembling a village of women who have my back. Huh?
How did you find us?
So I literally went into Spotify and I typed in divorce, help, right?
That's a
And
good one.
Yeah.
podcast came up. A couple other people that you've interviewed, their podcast came up as well, but yours kept coming up because I would type in questions. What do I do if I'm worried about losing the house? What is a marital asset? Is this marital? Is this not? What is this a fair and equitable state or 50-50? So I started to get into the nitty gritty of the questions. And each time you guys popped up as like, hi, it's Catherine and Karen, we're back again to talk about blah, blah, blah. So your voices actually are very comforting and very reassuring because they always came with, I feel safe and protected and supported. And now, full circle, I am a divorce coach helping women to feel that way and to have the resources, right? I think a lot of women get so scared they jump and get an attorney. Wrong choice. Get a coach, get your finances in order, and start talking about your reactions to things because money's emotional and kids are emotional. And those are the two big buckets of divorce, dealing with your finances and what's yours and how you're going to live in the future. And then in some cases, if you're sharing custody, like how do you help your babies handle being away from you, navigating time with a parent who hasn't been the primary parent, generally speaking? So there's a lot of emotion around it. And we got to pull the emotion out to bullet point for the attorneys because the attorneys just go advocate for the legal stuff. The judge doesn't care that you're fighting over $500 Dyson vacuum because he never vacuumed and you did, and now you're $10,000 into litigation over an emotion. So stuff like that comes up all the time.
How much do you think you saved attorney wise coming through the MDS process?
Oh my gosh, let's do the math, shall we? Okay, so let's figure out, we did probably 25 emails, I would say, at least 3 hours online Zoom, getting you to email him separately to get documentation, organizing it. Like, let's just throw a number of hours out, 50 hours, maybe. So 50 times my billable for my attorney who I adore and who loves you guys, by the way. What's 50 times 600?
$30,000.
$30,000. And it at a minimum.
What I want people to know is that that's $30,000 of maybe billable hours to an attorney, but it's also because we gathered so much information, you probably got more than you would have gotten with the information that we had, right? So
absolutely.
That's an asset division because I know that he, compromised in areas where he didn't want to, and he would have never compromised. But
would have never, right? And he did. And I think also financially speaking, your option, like your budget list of all of these different things that you should consider was 3 times as long as what I've seen from any attorney I've worked with, even with other clients and myself. Yours is comprehensive and it helped you think long term. And so I was able to advocate for my future self at a flat fee with you guys as opposed to the hourly with the attorney, because every back and forth, it's kind of a nightmare, even with a great attorney. And I loved my attorney. She was like, when you're done, bring me their stuff and I'm going to fight for you. So that was great.
So I want to comment on the math for sure.
Yeah.
Because, the math of working with us is getting that financial knowledge, right? And if you didn't have that financial knowledge, your conversation with your attorney would have been more emotionally driven because you were ready to move forward. Your spouse wasn't at the same point that you were. So sometimes our clients are the ones not ready to move forward, and sometimes they're the one that was ready to move forward first. And so the space between those two emotions being neutralized, where the one spouse has, caught up with the other spouse, a lot of attorneys fees in that area, right?
Oh, yes.
Over the top. Because you're dealing with emotions of betrayal or vulnerability or whatever it may be before you can even start talking about moving the divorce forward, because the spouse is reacting with revenge or panic or whatever, and the other spouse is saying, let's get moving. I've been planning this for years. So, there's value in that space as well.
Yeah.
And I also wanted to comment on something else you said, Nicole, because we hear a lot of this, the Karen and Catherine genie wand. I love that you said that.
Yes.
But I think what people don't realize is it's the MDS genie wand. We're just
Absolutely.
implementing it, right?
Mm-hmm.
By going through the step-by-step process and learning and neutralizing and learning some more and understanding the dynamics with your spouse that you never would have considered before, that genie wand is the method that
Mm-hmm.
we have the benefit of founding and creating, but it works no matter which advisor you have. You had the benefit of me and Catherine, of course, but I just wanted to mention that as well, because I think it is important that people are able to reconcile that investment in divorce coaches and in financial knowledge,
Mm-hmm.
more streamlined and efficient, but also more permanent in your life beyond divorce, because you're developing skills during the divorce process that'll be impactful
Mm-hmm.
forever, right?
Right, absolutely. And I still reference my portal that still lives somewhere in the cloud, and I go back to it to confirm things, to double check, like, hey, what about this, right? And it's just kind of like a little living entity of safety. And I think what it does, working with you guys and working with a coach, is we talk about building your own confidence in running your life, in knowing that you can have your own financial security and autonomy. And what does that look like? Right. Now, oftentimes, an attorney, not mine, but generally attorneys will say, tell the woman, don't get a job. Just be as completely like just net zero money so that you get more in the end. But you guys didn't say that. You were like, we can figure out, like, what are you making, what can we work it into? And my personal situation, like, I teach yoga and fitness. I left medicine and a 6-figure job, raised my kids, and then now, instead of saving lives, I'm saving souls. That's the plan. Right.
Can
um
save lives.
right. But I don't make very much, right? But I was in a over 2-decade marriage where my time and my contribution to running life and building a career mattered. Women are often told, like, oh, well, that's my money, that's my pension, that's my retirement. No, ma'am. It's all yours, like 50-50, depending on the state you're in, right? And so arming them with that knowledge that you're already on solid ground, even though your future ex is saying it's not yours. It is.
Mhm.
And helping the woman stand up and be confident for that. I had one client, the husband was like, this isn't your house. You're not going to get it. And he turns to the children and says, because your mother is choosing this, I don't want it. You have to leave your house and your schools. And they're bawling. And so we went through going back, having another discussion at the table with the spouse and the kids, going, I am always going to be honest with you. That statement was untrue. Your dad said something untrue. And I need you to know I'm always going to stand up for you. I'm always going to tell you the truth, age appropriate. And you don't have to leave. You get to keep your house. You get to stay in your school, and you get your room and your dog and all the friends and stuff in the neighborhood. And why could she do that? Because she had an understanding of her finances. She worked with me, and I might send her to you, actually. But she looked at everything. And guess what? Wouldn't you know, the house is paid for. Hmm. So that'd be it's less of an issue, right? But they spin it in such a way that speaks to your own fears and your lack of confidence. And then our little village of women we build each other up and we go, let's talk facts. And divorce is the beginning of changing your marital relationship to a business relationship. It's absolutely business, but it doesn't feel like it. There's emotions. And so we talk about the emotions for much less than $600 an hour, because your attorney isn't trained and doesn't need to talk about the emotions with you. They need to advocate for you once you decide what you want. And you guys help women decide what they want and what they can reasonably expect to get. And all the different options, A, B, C, all your division scenarios, fantastic.
So
True.
many people hesitate to seek financial guidance during divorce. So what would you say to somebody who's unsure about working with us?
Oh, well, I've had this email back and forth with lots of women. I even hop on a call to tell them my story of working with you. It is an investment in yourself. So when you decide that you're ready to make a huge life change, and divorce is absolutely that, you wouldn't expect to make any other life change without support and help, right? Take it from a fitness instructor. Say you want to, and yes, divorce coach, but it's holistic, right? Mind, body, spirit. If you want to change your outside and your inside, you've identified the goal, but you don't have expertise in it. Most women who come to you are not financial analysts. They're not accountants. They maybe not even are dealing with their finances. The man handles everything. And so they feel so incapable because they're just lacking experience, right? So I say today's day one. You're going to start to make a change. We're going to deal with the emotions that come, but you can only deal with what you know to be true, right? The client that was like, the house is paid for. Oh my God. Yeah, it's paid for. Different scenario. She got information. You guys give information on all the accounts, all the retirement, pension, businesses, savings, checking. And then you help us think about, for example, assets you didn't even know you had. You guys got me a good settlement in this situation because you were like, we're going to need the key to the cryptocurrency. I didn't know we had crypto. I didn't know I had crypto, right? And so not to make it personal, but part of what we do is personal. We're vulnerable, right? We share our historical perspective on it objectively so that these women can think through what their choice is. And I know that, Catherine, you've shared before that you were married to a narcissist, which I think is why you have magic with every high conflict human being, because you have a PhD in how to not take the bite, to circle back to let's talk about facts. Yeah. So you guys work your magic.
In-person live training.
Right. For real. Yeah. Yeah.
That's funny. That's true though.
It is, right? And the little flick of the eyebrow raise, like there's a whole bunch of stories behind that, but you bring it to help women. And I often feel like the wounds that we're given are meant to help other people. So we went through these things so that we can bring our knowledge and our support to women and say, you don't have to do it alone, right?
True. Yeah.
Yeah.
So true. As a group, we're much more powerful, right?
Yeah. Super powerful.
So the key takeaway that I'm hearing here with you is that, one, you have to get prepared. Nicole was fortunate enough to come to listen to our podcast, and now she's on our podcast. Who would have known?
Yay.
Right, that would happen? That is just fantastic, and we're so happy to have you here. But get the financial knowledge you have before going to your attorneys, before doing anything, because it really does change the course of your process. She's a living, breathing example. Not only did she save thousands and thousands of dollars with attorney fees, but she also got more money than she would have probably gotten in a settlement. So we add that on top of it. I don't think we charged you enough.
Probably not, but you know what? The number of clients I got you, we're even.
Yeah, that's all right. Okay, that's good.
But yes, actually looking back at it, I think you should do the math for clients, because just facts are facts. And that is actually how I approached my spouse at the time. Was, if you'd like to go back and forth with attorneys with your love of long emails that are extolling all of the things that are wrong with me and that I don't deserve, why don't we do it for a flat fee? That makes more sense. Then you can just have fun. Talk all you want.
Yeah.
I remember emailing you, Catherine, he's at it again. Please go ahead and respond to him. And you did. And you talked him off his ledge and it all worked out.
It's true. I remember. I'm getting flashbacks now.
Yeah.
I totally remember. But
that's super important. If the woman is either scared of her spouse, not to the point of like abusive, but like just fearful because she's talked down to or treated like she's stupid, they're not going to talk to you like you're stupid. And so you become like kind of the bouncer. Like, you're not going to get to her unless you get through me. So having that support and being able to go, you deal with him. Here's the papers I need. Go get it. Thank you so much. Right? It made it so much less emotional of an interaction because it was less interaction. Because when you're divorcing, you're separating, you're limiting and then ceasing interaction for the most part. So there's this big burst of too much interaction at first. And you guys were able to kind of make that a little road less traveled much easier. Yeah.
And a very important takeaway here of which Karen and I are super proud of, and it's our clients. Seeing you thrive post-divorce is what the MDS mission is. We want you and your
I like
family
it.
to thrive post-divorce. And you're doing just that. And now you're helping millions of women yourself to move the process a better way. So we applaud you for that. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah, we're really
Yeah,
proud of
Absolutely. Absolutely.
it's an honor, honestly. So it makes having gone through it makes sense, right? Eventually, ladies, if you're thinking about getting divorced, I'm not talking to you, I'm talking to your podcast team and the listeners. Like, if you're thinking about it, there's a reason why. And there's something inside of you telling you that you can imagine a better life and you need support to do that. And we're here. And don't go run and get the attorney yet. See where you stand, get your solid footing emotionally, financially, holistically. And then from that place of knowledge, you can choose to get the shark if you need it, or get the, collaborative divorce if you need it. And less aggressive and less combative is better. It just is. Mind, body, spirit. Nobody needs to be that angry, right? Let Karen and Catherine fight for you, and me. Let me fight for you.
That's great.
Yeah.
So, Nicole, how can our listeners and viewers learn more about you and your work?
Okay, so you can find me on my website, which is Nicole Jolie Coaching. And I know you'll link it down below. Jolie, like Angelina, without all of the stardom and the extra children. So NicoleJolieCoaching.com. You can also find me at Nicole Jolie Coaching on Instagram or Facebook as well.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So thank you for joining us today. This
Thank
concludes
you.
our episode. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this episode with anyone navigating divorce. Submit your questions for our listener Q&A and check out our resources at mydivorcesolution.com. You may also email us at wechat@ck11.net.
Remember, knowledge is power, and you're stronger than you think. Thank you again, Nicole, for a great conversation.
Thank you so much, ladies. I appreciate you both.
Thanks for joining us on another episode of We Chat Divorce. We hope this episode was informative and supportive on your divorce journey. If you're looking for more support for navigating divorce with confidence and clarity, head over to mydivorcesolution.com for more podcast episodes, divorce events, and resources for your divorce. We'll see you back here for our next episode.